If you want to know if Fantasian is for you, you are in the right place. Fantasian Neo Dimension has already been out for 2 days now, and as the guy who plans to check out the best of the best RPGs and pretty much spent 6 hours in the game, let's dive into my initial thoughts and impressions. If you think this is just an old crappy mobile game phone that has been ported to modern platforms, you might be mistaken. Now, all of my content in this channel so far was not paid or sponsored, so I am here to share my honest thoughts about it, and if you love old JRPGs, then it is likely that you are going to love this game. It's not that I am not aware of this project. In fact, I eagerly waited for its initial release on iOS devices way back in 2021 and ultimately failed since I was not able to get an iOS device myself during that time. And now it is time for me to redeem myself, and man, this game does not disappoint, especially when I got my hands on it. This game is outright special because it was passionately designed behind the minds of Mr. Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy franchise, in tandem with the great Mr. Nobuo Uematsu, so you already have an idea how the game will pan out. You'll be playing as Leo, a young warrior who is seemingly from another world and lost his memories after a series of mysterious events. Players will be traversing through the land of Vibra to uncover the secrets that lie within Leo's lost memories. And of course, just like any JRPG, it started pretty slow and picked up after 2 to 3 hours or so, at least in my experience. You will be meeting new party members as the story progresses. Since this is an old Final Fantasy game under a different name, expect rich storytelling being told at a relaxing pace. It is too early for me to tell if the story will turn out great, and so far, I'm pretty much neutral about it, but to be honest, my expectation is quite high and you can't blame me. The Final Fantasy series was known for its great tales. Way back last 2021, when I first laid my eyes on this game, it got me hooked right away. Ms. Walker, the developer of the game, which is led by Mr. Sakaguchi, used live high-quality dioramas to represent all of the locations in the game. Because of this, the overall presentation is the highest selling point so far, at least on my end. Not only it was so unique design choice-wise, but I also made my jaw drop when I personally walked on this live diorama. Man, what a crazy visual treat almost everywhere. The dioramas are so highly detailed and it makes my eyes bleed with rainbows, especially when playing on ultra settings and in 4K resolution. The character models are surprisingly highly detailed as well, and they blend well with the diorama. But what is surprising is that the enemy models are so detailed as well, make me want to zoom in and inspect them in my encounters. But the icing on the cake is the amazing OSTs and sound design that this game offers. What is a JRPG without great OSTs? But in Fantasian, it is less likely that it is going to be a missed opportunity, since what we can ask for if the legendary Nobuo Uematsu is on the line. You will be hearing familiar tunes when you start hearing the pieces. Here are some of the soundtracks samples so far. Then if it's too classic for your taste, you can even replace the combat soundtrack with Final Fantasy soundtracks to spice it up. Exploration-wise, players will be exploring these highly detailed dioramas filled with hidden treasures and loot that usually contains equipment and items that can help their progression as usual. As you fight with random encounters, you can cleverly store and fight all of your enemies at once later on. This is a huge time saver and a clever tool, especially if you want to explore and not to be interrupted by random encounters. You'll be visiting a lot of locales and will have a considerable time exploring the nooks and crannies of each town, finding treasure chests in houses, shops, and inns just like in old JRPGs, which I missed a lot. How I'm longing for the feeling of barging in private or unrestricted areas to get hidden loot or find secret quest givers just like in the old days. Each town or location has its unique design or look, and what more better way to show it than in a real diorama. Truly eye-watering. As you progress, your characters will be gaining XP from various enemies encounters and level up to gain more stats and unlock skills as usual. Players will be able to customize their characters by equipping a handful of equipment with different effects such as piercing effects, where normal attacks pierce through multiple enemies in combat, because usually skills can only do this. But before anything else, if you are getting value so far, consider subscribing to the channel as I will be covering this game to the full, and like and engage in a comment as it helps me a lot. that, and thank you for your support. Fantasian Neo Dimension excels in the overall presentation, but it doesn't mean that it lacks on the combat department. In fact, it's the second thing that I enjoyed so far. Rejoice classic JRPG fans as the game offers turn-based combat with a twist. Classic JRPG combat mechanics are of course present, such as exploiting elemental weaknesses, debuffs, ailments, and of course powerful skills to take advantage of. You are not just going to exploit regular attacks or use skill to outsmart your enemies, but the main feature of Fantasian's combat is that players will tactically manipulate the trajectory of their normal attacks and skills, which is pretty unique and refreshing. As players progress in the game, they will unlock more skills with different trajectory lines, and other party members will specialize in certain trajectory patterns later on. I'm enjoying this feature a lot since not only you will straight beat enemies by dumping strong attacks, but I am forced to check their placement in the field, so that when I use a skill, I will hit as many enemies that I can in a single turn. Hitting multiple targets is so satisfying, especially if they go down all at once. Adding icing on the cake is that there are buff stones also available in the field that you should be hitting as well if you are fighting in dimension battles, and these are called gimmicks. These stones provide various buffs such as attack boosts and turn steals, so I need to be strategic in manipulating my attack trajectories so I can hit the said stones and hit enemies simultaneously. I'm excited about what crazy skill combinations that I will be able to do. The difficulty curve is pretty okay as far as where I'm at, and I have yet to see the fights at late game. And of course, I'll be covering this fully in the proper review, but so far, early to mid-game difficulty spikes are fair and nothing too crazy. Just in case you are having a hard time, players will have the option to change the difficulty anytime in the game. So far, only have normal and hard difficulty is present to switch to, and the normal difficulty is playing fair so far and just right. PC players will of course have an option to play with a controller or mouse and keyboard. The game plays smoothly in controller mode, especially in combat, and it is pretty satisfying, allowing me to do normal attacks by pressing the left trigger and right trigger to pull off skills. But it doesn't mean that playing with the mouse and keyboard is not advisable. In fact, you can point and click the location to direct Leo when exploring the world and potentially overcome the greatest gripe that I have so far in the game, which I will go into in a minute. Playing with a mouse and keyboard in combat is pretty okay, at least in my experience. Clicking and holding the mouse button will let you aim and adjust your attack and skill trajectories. It pretty much works and is snappy most of the time, but I'd rather play using a controller. The greatest gripe that I have so far is when exploring locations or progressing through levels, the camera often changes its position so players can have a better view of the surroundings. This is not the actual issue, and in fact, it was so well done. But the main issue is that the movement controls do not adjust to the direction where the camera adjusted to. By the way, this applies to controller setups. Now, I don't know if you will see the issue while I'm trying to explain it, but once you experience it yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. I adjusted a lot just to get a hang of this con, and the greatest thing that I found to overcome this challenge is whenever the camera shifts to a different location, make sure to stop moving and then continue after the camera shifted. When it comes to performance, of course, I'm not expecting it to be that heavy, and with a high-end system, it plays without issues so far, and no crashes or huge frame losses so far, which is a good sign. As I mentioned, the 4K resolution made things even better, as it is a godsend feature that gave so many details on the live dioramas. But the best part is that allowing me to max out frames at 120 FPS is a big W, making the overall animation smooth as butter and joy to watch, especially in combat. It is too early to judge the longevity and actual replayability at this point, but according to sources, the main story without doing side content will give us 20 to 30 hours of experience. 100% completion will require 60 to 80 hours, and if this is true, it will justify its $49.99 USD price tag. But for now, I need to park this and see for myself, and of course, will update everyone with my proper review. Fantasian Neo Dimension is now available on PlayStation, Steam, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch. Fantasian Neo Dimension is going to be a special game that you can spend your hours on, especially if you love all JRPGs that we are itching to play for so long. This game is checking the boxes and even exceeding expectations so far, so if you are looking for a relaxing JRPG to play in the holidays, this title is going to be one of the best recommendations that I will put in the spotlight. Correct me if I'm wrong, but sadly, this game is not being marketed on a huge scale. and it is likely to be one of those hidden gems that once you finally play, you will ask yourself why not many people are playing this game. Let me know your thoughts about this game so far, and as mentioned, I will make a proper review soon, so be sure to subscribe as I will be covering this game with guides as well. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.